Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this amendment just simply conforms SB 20 back to the House version, House Bill 1856 that we passed out here 100 to 45 on April the 15th and acceptable to the author. I move adoption.
Ms. Israel, for what purpose?
A question for the author, please. Gentleman yield.
Gentleman yield for questions. He yields.
I yield.
Thank you.
Representative, would you explain a little bit more what that means? I know you're putting it back to its original version, but can you explain about what does that mean for the bill?
Yeah, in the original version, we had talked about firearm owners being able to carry their firearm into their hotel room, and the Senate had changed that to handgun, and we're taking it back to firearm.
So that would mean any kind of weapon, not just
any kind of legally owned, legally possessed firearm by a law-abiding citizen.
Regardless of size, regardless of caliber, regardless of
Yes.
anything. So you're taking it back to whatever you want to bring in that's a weapon, you can bring it in.
As long as you're a law-abiding citizen, a resident of the hotel, and going directly from your car to your room.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Hinojosa, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Gentleman yield for questions.
I yield.
He yields.
So I am trying to pull up your amendment. My understanding, based on your exchange with Rep. Israel, is you're changing handgun to firearm. So that would include like an AR-15 or any kind of assault-style weapon too would be able to be brought into a hotel. Is that correct?
It would allow any legally owned and possessed firearm that is possessed or owned by a law-abiding citizen to carry their firearm into their hotel room where they can safely store it.
So would that include an assault-style weapon like an AR-15?
It would include any legally obtained firearm by a law-abiding citizen.
So is that a yes?
I guess.
Okay, and so this is without respect to having a license, is that correct?
I believe that is correct, as long as they can lawfully possess the firearm, legally and lawfully.
And how will the hotel know if they can lawfully possess the firearm?
I guess the person is in possession of it, and it's kind of like our other law we passed here that legally, a law-abiding citizen can carry. And this is kind of an extension of the Castle Doctrine, where a person can carry in their home. That Castle Doctrine extends to their vehicle. This just allows that same freedom to extend into their place of residence for the night.
But wouldn't you agree the difference is that we are imposing upon a private property owner, that is the owner of the hotel, a requirement that they have to let now someone stay on their property with an assault-style AR-15?
Well, this is about a law-abiding citizen that rents a hotel room. That becomes their domain for the evening. And so I believe that their right to store their property and to protect themselves should extend to their place of residence for the night.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing. Can you repeat what you just said?
I'll try to. I said, what was your question? Repeat your question. Let me get back in the...
So wouldn't you agree that there's a difference between your home, your castle, which is the property that you have control over, versus a private hotel owner, and imposing upon that private hotel owner a state government mandate that they have to allow someone with an AR-15 onto their property to stay in their private property?
Well, like I said,
they cannot deny that.
When a person has their castle doctrine or their domain, their house then extends to their car, and this extends to their room. So this is about a person that has rented this room. It becomes their place of residence for the night. And we need to keep in mind too that it's safer for us to have our firearms in the hotel room with us than to have them in a car where somebody could break in and get access to them. And so to keep them with us in the room so that they're safe and safely stowed away.
Okay. Well, thank you. Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Hinojosa, for what purpose?
I'd like to object to this amendment and ask for a record vote on it.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Canales, for what purpose?
The gentleman just yield for a couple questions.
Gentleman yield for questions.
I yield.
He yields.
So my question, I'm following Representative Hinojosa's argument, and frankly, I agree that I think it's perilous for us to start enforcing or pushing things on private property owners because Mr. Hinojosa is correct. That person doesn't own that room. And the question I have is, under your bill, can a hotelier, someone who owns a hotel or a motel, as part of the contract with that client, stipulate that their rules are you can't carry a firearm? Are you going to take that right away to contract as well?
This is going to be like the law we passed last session.
No, sir. This is the law you're trying to pass right now.
I understand that.
So what I'm asking you is a simple question. Are you taking away a private property hotelier's right to contract with who stays in their hotel and what they do?
This is about an individual that can lawfully possess a firearm, being able to legally and lawfully and safely carry that into their place of residence for the night.
I'm asking it's a yes or no question, respectfully, Representative. Are you going to take a private property business owner's right to contract that room out under their rules?
What we're going to do is maintain an individual's right to protect themselves and their property when they rent this room for the night.
Do you agree that that person
when they rent this room for the night?
Do you agree or disagree that that person does not own the hotel?
I would agree that they don't own the hotel, but they do rent that room for the night.
Okay.
It becomes their home.
They
for that
rent
night.
it. They rent it if the hotelier who owns that room decides to rent it to them. Is that correct?
Just like we've done with apartments, where individuals can carry to their apartment because it becomes their domain. A hotel room becomes a person's home for the night. They should be able to carry.
If the person who owns the hotel rents it to them, is that correct?
If the person that, yes.
Okay, so if the person decides not to rent it to them because they're going to carry a weapon, are you taking that right away?
I'd have to dig into that.
It's a pretty simple question, Representative. Are you taking a private business owner's right that rents a hotel room? Are you taking that right for them to contract, their right as a business owner to contract? Are you taking away someone's right, their property right to contract?
It's consistent with the commonplace and private property practices that we have in place.
So your answer is you're not taking away the right to contract specificities?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to dig into that. I mean, I guess
I think that's important
hotels
for
can
us,
rent.
for this body to know.
I guess hotels can rent.
Because you know I'm pro Second Amendment, but I'm
Sure.
also very pro property rights.
I am too. And we
don't
thought
want,
about that.
I don't want us to be considering legislation that takes away a private business owner, especially a hotelier's right, to determine the terms of the contract by which they lease that room.
Well, we also have a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves as well.
Before that Second Amendment right even begins, is the right to that person to tell you they don't want to rent the room to you.
I would assume a hotel could choose to rent or not to rent to whoever they wanted to.
So then it's your position that your bill does not take away their right to deny somebody the right to rent a room if they don't want to.
This is about, let me tell you, this is about a law-abiding citizen being able to safely store their firearm and protect themselves in their place of residence for the night. It's their constitutional God-given right, and that's what this bill does.
Does a person have a constitutional God-given right to run the business, a hotel, the way they want to?
They can rent the room to who they want to, I would assume.
And if they don't want to rent it to somebody who's got a firearm, they can do that, correct?
As far as I know, I don't know. That's really not what this bill's about.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to clarify is your legislative intent. If somebody doesn't want to rent a room to somebody who's going to carry a firearm, we're not taking that away here, are we?
I would have to look into that, Representative. I don't know what the rules are.
Well, I might think you want to postpone your bill until this body knows.
No, I'm not going to postpone the bill.
Well, then I would recommend, I mean, you're not able to answer one of the most fundamental questions. Are you taking away someone's right to contract on their own property grounds, on their own business, for their own right?
That's not in this bill. That's not in this bill.
Well, so that we're not doing that.
That's my understanding is we're not doing that.
So your understanding and for legislative intent, that's not what we're doing. Thank you.
Ms. Goodwin, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Sure.
So in the committee hearing, when this bill was laid out and we were hearing it, the Hotel Association came and they were concerned about that bill because of an incident that happened in a hotel where a gun was left behind and a 6-year-old girl found it in a drawer.
I don't remember that. What I do remember is them testifying on the bill, not against it.
Well, I recall them telling the story and saying that, for the most part, many hotels allow guns on their premises. But in that one,
Gentleman's time has expired. Question occurs on adoption amendment. Ms. Hinojosa has requested a record vote. The clerk ring the bell. Show Mr. Hefner voting aye. Show Mr. Romero voting nay. Show Mr. Leach voting aye. Show Mr. Rodriguez voting nay. All members voting. There have been 84 ayes, 60 nays. The amendment's adopted.